Who would have thought that Lanell Barsock, an attractive, promising nurse, would be the victim of a shocking murder in her own home at the age of 29? During the investigation, investigators uncovered dark secrets about her relationships with her boyfriend and a close friend. More than just a tragic death, this case is a frightening reminder of the betrayal and jealousy that can lurk behind seemingly harmless relationships. Lanell Barsock, 29, is a registered nurse living in Palmdale, California. Born and raised in Los Angeles, she is hardworking and passionate about a career in nursing. After graduating from Long Beach University, Lanell became a nurse with the goal of pursuing a career in healthcare. She owns a large home in Palmdale, where she wants to provide outpatient care for the elderly. Lanell lives with her longtime boyfriend, Louis Bonheur, but their relationship has recently been in trouble. She has also sought connection outside of her relationship with another man through an online romance. Personal problems in Lanell's life ultimately led to tragedy, and she was murdered in 2010. On June 16, 2010, around 7 p.m., Lanell Barsock's best friend Lorraine Austin rushed into the Palmdale Police Department in a panic. She reported to authorities that she had just found her best friend's body in a bloody area. Lorraine said she found Lanell lying motionless in the garage with a plastic bag over her head and surrounded by blood-stained towels and sheets. In shock, Lorraine approached Lanell's body and tried to lift her, but she realized she was dead.
And then I turned around, it was like plastic bags, and I slid on the bags. I'm looking at the blood, and then when I looked, I saw her legs. And then when I walked around the car, she had a bag over her head, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God.
Still dazed, Lorraine heard noises coming from the house. She walked through the laundry room, into the kitchen, and out into the hallway. Suddenly, she saw the figure of a man at the top of the stairs. He approached Lorraine, who quickly ran out of the house and headed straight for the police station.
And then I heard somebody walking upstairs. And he was coming down the stairs, and I looked and I just ran out the door.
Do you know the guy's name?
Yeah, his name is Willie.
Shortly after Lorraine's panicked call, investigators arrived on the scene. There was an eerie silence in the garage where Lanell's body was found. Lanell lay motionless on the floor next to the passenger seat of her BMW. Investigators searched the area carefully, trying to make sense of the crime scene. There were no immediate signs of death, no gaping wounds or visible marks to indicate a cause of death. The only clue was the disturbing sight of a plastic bag over her head. Her action of covering her head seemed strange, as if someone was doing everything in their power to hide the true horror of what had happened. It was a small detail, but it left investigators with more questions than answers. As they searched the crime scene, they noticed something was amiss. The absence of fingerprints on many of the items in the house was immediately noticeable. Such a clean crime scene was unusual and aroused suspicion. Investigators suspected that the killer had worn gloves to avoid leaving any marks. But then they found a fingerprint among the carefully arranged items in the living room. It was on a dark decorative vase near the entrance. The presence of this fingerprint was clear. It showed that the killer had deliberately moved the vase, as if careful not to disturb the surroundings. This was not a spontaneous attack. The act was premeditated, the work of someone who carefully planned his steps. Then investigators discovered something even more horrifying. They found a pillow with bullet holes in it under the blood-stained sheets. The realization hit her hard. Lanell could have been shot from behind, possibly while sitting, unaware of the threat behind her. The pillow could have been used as a makeshift silencer to muffle the shot. It was a horrifying moment, suggesting that Lanell's death was swift, sudden, and brutal, with no warning, no chance for her to defend herself. Investigators imagined her sitting in the living room, perhaps lost in thought when the fatal gunshot went off, ending her life in seconds. Inside the house, investigators noticed signs of hastily organized rooms. Towels and sheets were scattered about, some crumpled, others hastily folded, as if someone had hurriedly cleaned them. It was clear that the killer had tried to cover his tracks. But it wasn't a perfect job. The incomplete cleanup suggested that something, or someone, was interfering with the process that had been interrupted. The scene was in disarray, and investigators could almost hear the frantic footsteps of the killer as he hurried to remove all evidence of the crime. As the investigation continued, A blood trail led investigators from the living room through the kitchen and finally into the garage. The trail was unmistakable. It was created when a large rug was moved from the living room to the car. Determined to uncover every hidden detail, investigators used luminol to illuminate the blood trail under fluorescent lights. The results were astonishing. An unmistakable path from the living room through the kitchen to the garage. The trail looked like someone had tried to move the body, dragging it from one place to another to cover up the tracks, but the remaining blood told a different story. Using these new clues, investigators developed a disturbing theory. They believed that Lanell was attacked in the living room, possibly while sitting, and then dragged into the garage to hide her body. The lack of signs of forced entry suggested that the killer was someone Lanell knew the layout of the house, and entered without arousing suspicion. There was no evidence of any violent break-in, just a sense that the killer was let in, trusted, and perhaps even welcomed. The investigation had only just begun, but investigators had already gathered enough information to know that the case would not be as simple as they had hoped. Lanell's death was not simply the result of a random attack, it was the result of something much deeper and personal. As they continued to piece together the story, investigators began to understand that the answers lay hidden in the intricate web of relationships and emotions that surrounded Lanell's life. Police found this note at the victim's home. Written by Lanell Barsock, the note was addressed to her friend, Louis Bonheur. In it, Lanell told Louis that she was leaving him for Ike, a man she had been dating for several months. She explained that she was moving out of state with Ike, and that he was making more money so that Louis could do whatever he wanted with the house. Lanell also mentioned that Ike was the one who paid her car bill. The letter ended with a goodbye note and congratulations to Louis. "Dear Louis, I am leaving you for Ike. He makes more money so you can do whatever you want with the house. I am moving out of state with Ike, so I'm giving you my phone number. We are getting married, so leave me alone and you can have everything in the house. I have been sleeping with him for 4 months and he is the one who pays for my car. Good luck in your life. Goodbye, Lanell." The letter provided important insights into the emotional and relationship turmoil Lanell was experiencing at the time and became a key piece of evidence in the investigation. He also clarified the possible motive for the crime. Her close friend Lorraine Austin may have been motivated by jealousy and resentment of Lanell's relationship with Ike. The police then focused on Lanell's relationship with her boyfriend Louis Bonheur and close friend Lorraine Austin. When investigators began looking into the Lanell Barsock case, their first suspect fell on her boyfriend Louis Bonheur. Lanell and Louis had been having relationship problems recently, mainly due to Lanell's affair with a man named Ike, which Louis discovered before her death. Police also knew that the couple had a violent argument shortly before Lanell's death, and Louis seemed to be the main motive, so they initially considered Louis as the main suspect.
What's your girlfriend's name? Yeah, boss. What happened to her? How you would know? You don't know? I need the house early to go fix my car. Tell me about your relationship. Right? Yeah. Your relationship is good? Honest with you. Okay with her. Is she okay with you? She's okay with me. She's been telling me she's loving me all the time.
Lanell Barsock's boyfriend, Louis Bonheur, is a 30-year-old man who immigrated to the United States from Haiti. Louis lived in seclusion in the city of Hawthorne as a maintenance man. He lived with Lanell in Palmdale and was in a long-term relationship. However, their relationship had recently hit a rough patch, especially when Lanell's affair with a man named Ike came to light. Louis has a jealous and controlling personality, which is evident in the way he monitors and stalks Lanell's behavior. Despite the problems in their relationship, Louis always expressed his love for Lanell and tried to smooth things over between them.
What are they? I'm talking about the little letter I was telling you. She's going bye-bye. Yeah, I don't know about that. Who is this guy named Ike? Who is he? Okay. Ike can tell me Ike is a friend.
He admitted to having had arguments with Lanell, one of which Lanell slapped him in the face, which further strained their relationship.
You got a scratch on your face. Where did you get that?
This one?
Yeah, the one right across your cheek. Who scratched you?
Oh, that was Lanell across me.
Someone shot her.
Oh my God, what's that again? Where she is right now? She's at the coroner's office, sir. She did not survive her wounds. Really? Really? Oh my God, that's not right.
We understand that things happen.
That's not me, that's not me, that's not me. Why didn't do that? Oh my God.
However, Louis soon provided a solid alibi. When police checked his alibi, they discovered that Louis was in Los Angeles buying auto parts at the time of the murder. Store receipts and surveillance footage from Los Angeles stores confirmed that Louis could not have been at the crime scene at the time. In addition, data from Louis's phone showed that he was located in the city, a little over an hour and a half away from Palmdale. This evidence proved that Louis was the prime suspect who was innocent. After Louis was ruled out as the perpetrator, investigators turned their attention to Lanell's close friend Lorraine Austin. Although Louis could not have been the murderer, strange inconsistencies in Lorraine's statements and contradictions in her story raised suspicion. When Lorraine was questioned, police initially ignored the inconsistencies in her statements and assumed she was in shock after her friend was brutally murdered. However, as the investigation progressed, the inconsistencies became more apparent. Lorraine claimed that Louis Bonnar was at the home and confronted her about her infidelity shortly before Lanell's death. When investigators examined the timeline, they discovered that Louis had a solid alibi. He was at an auto repair shop just hours away from the crime scene. Not only was he captured on surveillance cameras, but he later went to Bobby's house in Hawthorne. This meant that he couldn't have been in the house when Lorraine saw him on the stairs. An investigator confronted Lorraine.
I could prove Louis wasn't in the house when you said he was there. I got pictures of him. He wasn't anywhere near you. He wasn't anywhere near Palmdale.
My point is that I don't know whatever I was in the house saw when I saw.
Now looking back, is there anything that you want to tell us that's different?
Whole day doesn't make any sense to me, but that shouldn't wasn't good.
Did you kill your friend?
I did not kill my friend. I had no reason to kill my friend. I love my friend.
But her denials made no sense as police began to uncover her true identity. Lorraine Austin is a 29-year-old woman of average looks. She works as an unreliable hairdresser who lives with her mother and has no regular job. She met Lanell Barsock through an online dating platform and became close friends with her. However, after a while, Lorraine becomes jealous and resentful of Lanell's successful life. She longed to replace Lanell in her life, especially because Lanell had a nice house, a stable career, and a bright future. All things Lorraine missed. With Louis no longer a suspect, investigators turned their attention to Lorraine Austin. However, Lorraine's statements initially raised concerns. Although her account initially seemed plausible, inconsistencies emerged in her story. She claimed to have seen Lanell that morning, but could not explain how a bullet had made its way into her purse after she arrived at the scene. This omission raised suspicion, and her inability to provide a logical explanation was one of the factors that sparked a deeper investigation. In addition, evidence found at the crime scene made Lorraine's situation even more difficult. Investigators found Lorraine's fingerprints and DNA on several items in Lanell's home. This evidence strongly suggested that Lorraine was at the crime scene and played a direct role in the murder. Additionally, the police were aware of Lorraine and Lanell's close relationship, but Lorraine's growing jealousy and resentment of Lanell suggested that there might be more to their friendship than initially thought. Lorraine's desire to replace Lanell in her life, fueled by jealousy and personal concerns, appears to have played a large role in her motivations. Given these factors, Louis's alibi, Lorraine's contradictory statements, and physical evidence, investigators focused entirely on Lorraine. As the investigation progressed, more and more evidence eventually led to her arrest and a life sentence for the murder of Lanell Barsock. The murderer in this case was Lanell Barsock's close friend, Lorraine Austin. Lorraine killed Lanell for a number of complex reasons, including jealousy, greed, and dissatisfaction with Lanell's life. Lorraine had always felt inferior and jealous of Lanell, despite having a stable career, a good family, and a promising future. Although they share a close friendship, Lorraine becomes obsessed with Lanell's success and begins to covet everything Lanell has, especially after she discovers that Lanell may be leaving her boyfriend Louis to be with Ike, a man she met online. After Lanell was killed, Lorraine showed no remorse. She had carefully planned the murder and remained calm during the execution. After the murder, Lorraine attempted to clean up the crime scene and cover up all traces to make the murder look like an accident. However, her incomplete cleanup indicated that she was interrupted in the process of covering up the crime. How she killed her friend. On the morning of Lanell's murder, Lorraine went to Lanell's house to braid her hair as usual. While she was braiding Lanell's hair in the living room, Lorraine suddenly shot her from behind while she was sitting. Lorraine may have used a pillow as a makeshift silencer to muffle the sound. Lorraine did not stop after shooting Lanell. She dragged the body to the garage and tried to clean up the crime scene to make the murder more difficult to solve. After the murder, Lorraine remained a suspect. She took a bullet from the crime scene and hid it in her handbag, then rushed to the police station, pretending to be a panicked person who found a body. However, her actions were later discovered by the police, and Lorraine was eventually arrested and sentenced to life in prison. Not only did Lorraine murder a close friend, but she completely destroyed the trust between them and left Lanell's family and loved ones in great pain. Lanell's death exposed Lorraine's dark secrets and made her pay for her criminal behavior. After learning the details of Lanell Barsock's case and a photo of Lorraine that aired on a pivotal episode of America's Most Wanted, police arrested Lorraine Austin. A viewer who recognized Lorraine from the show contacted authorities and provided crucial information that led to her arrest in Belize in January 2012.
Rejected.
How was my trip? And how did I end up there?
We're just curious more than anything else.
I went. Go on vacation, like normal people do. Go exploring.
What did it say?
What did it say?
Oh, what did it? Oh, that I
What is
was
it
plotting
about?
on my friend
Oh.
for financial support or something like that, or basically trying to mooch, and that I might be mooching on.
Lorraine fled the United States after learning that the original suspect, Louis Bonheur, had been acquitted and that the investigation was now shifting to her. Lorraine was immediately extradited to the United States after her arrest and was ultimately sentenced to life in prison in 2015 for the murder of Lanell Barsock. This marks the end of a long search for justice for Lanell's family and friends, who have long been in the dark about the true identity of her killer.
The detective and this person walked out of the hallway. And the first thing I asked, I said, "How do you know Lanell?" And she said, we went to Gunshot together. I said, "Gunshot?" I said, "I don't know you." And she hugged me, and she said, "You have my condolences." I told the detective, I said, "I don't know her."
Lanell Barsock was a young woman full of hope who was cruelly taken from this world by her best friend. Her death is not only a heartbreaking loss, but also the deep pain that comes with jealousy and greed turning friendship into betrayal. Lanell Barsock's family lives in Hawthorne, California, a city in Los Angeles County. Her mother, Bobby, was especially close to her. When police arrived at Bobby's home to inform her of Lanell's death, they found that Lanell's boyfriend, Louis Bonheur, was also present. One of 5 children in her family, Lanell was known as a loving daughter who always made sure there was harmony among her loved ones. She had a promising career as a nurse and planned to open a care facility for the elderly. Her death was therefore devastating to her mother and siblings. Bobby was particularly heartbroken by the loss because she and Lanell were very close. When Lorraine was finally arrested, Lanell's family found some answers for the tragedy she had suffered. But even if justice is served, her family's pain will never fully go away. Her story is a reminder of the cruelty that can be hidden in seemingly safe relationships.